Hey guys, this is Simon here with Caddis Fly Shop, an Oregon fly fishing blog. Got another surf perch fly for you today. This is actually, a replica, or I've changed it a little bit since I did this, but this is like the first fly that I used to catch a surf perch. So this is a little mole crab. They eat a ton of these on the beaches. You'll see them scurrying out and burying themselves in the sand when the waves go out. They're these little burrowing crabs that are all over the Oregon coast. They have a kind of fat body and little legs like this, and kind of like a lower profile to kind of dig and stuff. So they eat loads of these, and so it has a mallard wing for the back, little claws, and these legs. They have these little scurrying legs. So this fly is super productive for me. I've seen people use versions of this for stripers on the East Coast and like little pompano off like the beaches and stuff. So anywhere where there's surf and there's little like mole crabs or sand fleas, something like this will work really good. So I'll show you guys how I tie it. So looking at this fly, it's got little chenille legs, a dubbing underbody. This is EP fibers. You could use floss. It's just a little hot spot because you're going to be stripping it back. They'll be looking at this when they're chasing it. Claws, antenna. It's pretty simple. There's a couple steps, but it's not very hard to tie. So I'll get to it. So the hook I'm using is, again, one of these Gamakatsu SL 11 3H, size 6 this time, just one size bigger. It's a really good saltwater hook that I've been using a lot. Doesn't bend on me. Although these perch aren't huge, but it works pretty good, and it has enough space to do everything you need to do for the body. So we're using the same thread, Vivis power thread, 140 denier, tying that in here. And we are going to tie the eyes in. I use 2 eyes for fishing in the Oregon surf. There's a lot going on in those waves, and your fly gets blown around, I'm sure, and just does all sorts of weird stuff. So I've experimented with different amounts of weight, and I've settled on this little kind of duo like lead eye slash bead chain eye system right here, because the bead chain eye I don't think is enough weight unless you're fishing a super low tide, and the lead eye provides a little bit of weight, but I really don't want too much of a lead eye because I don't want to bash my rod with it, or like the back of my head, but more importantly my rod. I don't want to crack it. So I try to keep the bulk small, so that's why I'm using 2 of these. And this orange looks like a little, spawning hotspot too, so it ends up working out pretty good. Or a little, attractor spot. It's pretty bright in the surf, and there's a lot going on, so if you can put something on your fly that helps it stand out, I think that, is very beneficial. So to secure these eyes, I'm using Solaris bone dry. You can use glue or something. I think it's worth the extra step. These flies aren't super quick to tie, but luckily you're not going to lose them getting snagged up on these in anything in the Oregon surf here, unless you're by like a big rock wall or something. But if you're just on the sand, I haven't lost a single fly yet just getting snagged on anything. So I'm curing it. I do have this big Loon UV light, which I recently got because my other one wasn't curing the real thick stuff too quickly, and I do like it. If any of you were considering it, I think it is a good light, and it cures stuff really, really quick. So now that these aren't moving anywhere, we're going to put this little hot tag in, which is EP fibers. You can use floss, you can use, pulled out ice dub, really whatever you have. This is just, and this can be entirely omitted too. I just put it on here because as those perch are chasing this down, they're going to be looking at this pink hotspot of these trigger point fibers, and I think it just helps them see it. I don't know, it's just my theory, but I do like to put it in, and it peeks out from under the eyes, and it does take up a little bit of the space that normally wouldn't have much going on down there. So I will cut that off, and on this one, compared to the shrimp that I tie, I do cut everything shorter because these mole crabs don't have that long nose or rostrum or rostrum, I'm not sure how to say it, but that they don't have that big long nose. Their bodies are very compact, almost like a little golf ball. And so now that that's tied in, I'm going to tie in some eyes, and these are the EP crab and shrimp eyes in small black. And just like all of this stuff we're tying in right here for like the face of this shrimp, or this sand crab, mole crab, sand shrimp, there's a million names for them. I'm keeping these eyes very close to the body, like right here, because you know, they just have a different structure of their face. If you see them, you'll definitely know what I'm talking about. And next time I go fishing, I am going to try to get some photos for anyone who's curious about fishing in the surf to see what some of the stuff they eat looks like. And so I will pull this back, and yeah, we're just gonna have it probably just even with where the hook bend ends. Actually is a good spot if you want a visual reference point of where to stop that eye. And so, like I said in the other video, if you have a pair of trash scissors, I would use those cutting this mono. It's pretty thick. You don't want to trash your nice scissors. And so now here we have our eyes in, we have our hot spot. I will put in a tiny little bit of this gray bucktail. This will just help push up this little bit of craft fur we're going to be putting off of it, and you're just going to need the tips. You don't really need to put them in a stacker or anything. It's the only reason I'm putting this in. And it probably can be omitted if you want, but I am putting it in because I do think it helps bump that craft fur up a bit so it doesn't just slim down into like nothingness. So I will take just a small little bit of this gray bucktail here and split it in half around this hook bend, and then I will tie this down here. And this is too far out, so I'm going to pull it back just a hair here. Just like that, and then, you know, when it gets wet, it'll help just bump up that craft fur just a bit. Antenna, I like to use this Gray Ghost crystal flash here. Just kind of matches the rest of the fly. And so I'm going to take a piece here and tie it in. Try to get it even on both sides. I don't really worry about the length until after the fly's done. That's one of the last things I do is I'll trim the antenna down depending on how big the body ended up being. Depending on the piece of mallard you pick for the back, the fly can look, you know, really different. So that's something I don't mess with till the very end. What I do measure though is these legs. These are the Hairline Crazy Legs Clear Pearl with fluorescent orange tip. I like to use the fluorescent orange tip, but as you can see here and on this one, I trim just after the orange stops, so there's just a tiny little hot spot of orange. I don't think you need loads of it, so I will tie this in, and these I don't want going out very far. You know, at the max, I would say about that far past the eye. We don't need these to stick out a ton. They don't have giant claws like other crabs. I know they have some, but it's not super crucial. It's not like you need big long ones like a shrimp sticking out the front. So something shorter will be perfectly fine for this fly. And so we'll secure those down and then clip. Next thing we're going to do is just put a little bit of craft fur, because they do have a little nose that peeks out under their shell. This is extra select craft fur bone tan. We're going to take a little bit of it, try to even it out if we can. And here we're going to kind of split it around the hook bend here. This doesn't need to stick out very far. You know, we're going to be probably looking at it just like this. Just enough to stick out just a little bit, and so we'll clip this. And this next part we might speed through because it's kind of redundant, but putting these legs on, they're just chenille legs that you crisscross. You do like cross wraps, like putting in these dumbbell eyes, and then we're just filling dubbing in. So I'll show you what I'm using real quick, and we might fast forward through this if it ends up taking a little bit because it's really just redundant. But what I'm using for the legs is this Ultra Chenille Micro Tan, and I am using for dubbing just squirrel hair dubbing in gray. I take 3 little sections of these chenille legs, and I will tie them in evenly, I try. And so I tie them in on the bottom here, and then I will just crisscross and make sure they're staying where they're supposed to be. And then I will put I put 3 sets in, and and it helps to kind of build the body up a little bit so the taper's not screwing you up. Put in number 2. If you have to kind of snug it up a little bit, you want to kind of keep them close together if you can, or evenly spaced. And then this last one, I normally just have it bashed up against this bead chain eye right here. Yeah, and then the dubbing will help, separate them too. Okay, so now that we have these legs in, I wouldn't worry about the length. We're going to trim them down. The squirrel hair dubbing in gray is what we're going to just fill it in with, this stuff. And we'll just I like to build the body enough where there's a little bit of bulk, but not too much where it might fall apart. And so we'll start right here, just slowly wrapping. I wouldn't worry about bumping the legs, because if you make them long enough, they're not really going to get caught in anything. If they do, you can kind of help them out. But here we're just really filling in this space, just like if you're tying like a Pat's rubber legs and you're wrapping the chenille between the legs. That's all we're doing right now, is just filling in this space with this dubbing. They kind of have like a grayish tan underbody. You can match the color as close as you want. This is going to be rotting along the bottom of the sand, so I don't think it's that important. I just grabbed a color that was, fairly close. These front legs, if you want to wrap them and push them forward a little bit, you can. If you need to make space for the other legs, it's really whatever you want to do. But I do like to try to keep them evenly spaced. Okay, and then we will fill in this last little bit here by these bead chain eyes. Okay, so now that these are full, I wouldn't worry about the length and how they look, because we will kind of trim them down once we put this mallard on in the back. So I'm going to fill just a little bit more in back by this these eyes, just to help fill in the space. And the last thing this fly has is it just has a piece of mallard in the natural color just running up over the back, and that's what kind of creates that shell. So I have one pre-cut here. You're going to find one that fits well. I like to measure it. This one fits over the back pretty well. You pull off all the fibers, and what can help is if you snip a little section out for where the hook bend will go. But pretty much you're just going to punch this in here, just like that. That creates the shell. And then here we'll whip finish, and then we'll singe the ends of the legs, and that'll make it last forever. Okay, so first I will just put a little bit of Solarize on this to make it last. Something I've been doing to help the dubbing last a little bit, since I'm not counter wrapping it with wire, is I will just put a couple of drops of Solarize in here, and it'll kind of just harden the dubbing up, and you know, when the fish are eating it, it won't just like unwrap. So I'll cure that real quick. And then you can use a lighter or a cautery. If you have a cautery or something like that, you can just singe the ends of these legs. And it's kind of nice because if you try to do this with a lighter, you might burn the mallard. So if you have a lighter, I would do this before you put the mallard on. And so you're just going to touch the end of each of these legs to make sure the chenille doesn't come unwrapped. And then you should be done here. We have these little legs sticking out. Mole crab on the Oregon coast. Works great for surf perch and other places where you're fishing in the surf. Let us know how you like it. Thanks.